Welcome to Film Talk Weekly Radio. This is your guest host, Castle Searcy, with the Santa Fe International Film Festival. Today we're here with Tom Hoch Jr.
Yep.
Okay, at the Public Works at Battery 621 in Denver, Colorado. What I know about Tom is that he's worked in film his whole life, but I don't know anything. So we're going to start. Let's start with what you do now, and then we'll work backwards.
Okay, so not really film per se, but more broadcast media is how I grew up. So television production.
Okay.
Is that still going to be all right?
It's okay. It's okay.
Yes.
We'll take it. Yes.
Yeah, so now what I do is I'm really operations for our content creation agency, the Public Works, which is full service photo, video, film, and design, build, fabrication workshop.
Okay. What does that mean to regular people?
So what that means is I'm really kind of, I guess if there was an executive title, it would be COO, although we don't really use titles like that here. I'm really operations, just making sure everything's working right. All the pieces and parts, infrastructure, travel, insurance, all the little details is kind of what I've led myself into at this point. A little bit of sales and business development, client relationships, managing those things, as well as just working to manage our production teams to make sure they have everything they need to service our clients. Our work is 100% client services at this point. Brand storytelling on the media side of things, which would be our more focused film, and a lot of still photography, a lot of product photography, e-com photography, and things like that. So.
Okay. And who are some of your clients, or can you say?
Yeah, we can say. Our biggest client is Thor Industries. Thor Industries is the largest RV manufacturer in the world. They own Airstream, which is the most recognizable brand, and about 16 other subsidiaries. So basically kind of run the whole RV industry in America and other parts of the world. So we do a lot of work with Thor Industries. We do a lot of work with Spyder Activewear is one of our longest running clients. So we do a lot of product photography for Spyder ski wear. We do a lot of work for Red Bull, one of the longest running clients also. So cool. Red Bull is really more on the shop side. A lot of things like bars and DJ booths and skateboard ramps and things like that are some of our kind of our top, more recognizable clients. And then we do some work with, other fun, cool Colorado brands too. So we do stuff with like Gibberish and Original Favorites Clothing Company. We do stuff with other corporate entities for all kinds of things like live streaming, corporate communication. We do things with Denver Startup Week, which I work with you on. A lot of types of things that are more in the traditional kind of corporate media space. A lot of work in that. But yeah, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg.
It sounds like you do everything, and there's a production facility, fabrication as well. So if you don't have something, you build it.
We can make it.
Yeah.
Yes, if we don't have something, we can make it, which really is kind of our best case scenario when a client will come to us where we need a thing and we want to tell a story about this thing. Yeah. That's kind of our sweet spot.
Okay. And how did you come to work here?
How did I come to be? Yeah, this is
how the Battery 621 is this awesome co-working space in Denver. I have an office here. We are right now in the podcast studio. There's an amazing photography
bigger studio behind here. You can't see.
Yeah, we do a lot of events here. Cool co-working space. All different kinds of companies here. It's more like a family, though. Yeah. We do ski trips and...
Yeah, it's really a fun community place. Battery 621, we get dubbed co-working, but it's not really like a WeWork, or this is our only place.
Yeah.
When it started, it was Colorado's first co-working space. It was kind of the new model of not everybody needs their own kitchen, their own bathroom, their own conference room. What if we share those resources? I need a smaller office for my stuff, but I want a bigger open space that I can share with everybody else. It's kind of how Battery 621 started, and it's how I came into the fold with Public Works.
Okay.
So I came in 2012 with Mike and Frank, who are the founders of Public Works, also the founders of Battery 621. Frank and Mike are kind of the impetus for a lot of this. Frank and Mike met at Burton Snowboards 25 years ago, where Frank was the head of engineering.
I just learned this.
Yeah, Frank was the head of engineering, designing boards and bindings and things like that. And Mike worked with the athletes on the marketing side. Cool. So Mike would work with the athletes back then. It was like Terje Hawkinson was like their big athlete. He'd take Terje's whatever broken piece and bring it to Frank. Frank would figure it out, hand it back. That's how they met. Cool. And that's how they kind of started their whole thing. So it really started around the workshop. I don't know, 18 or so years ago, Public Works. Well, I came into Battery. It had just opened up. I came in with their former partners who had a production company called Wink Inc. I had my production company, Mile High House Productions.
Okay.
And I was just looking for a place to be. And this new cool space of Battery 621 had just opened up. And I kind of wanted to be around the action to see what was up with this new cool place and all these cool brands that were in here, like Icelandic Skis had started here, Gibberish, who I mentioned earlier, had started here. A lot of just fun stuff was happening in and around Battery.
Yeah.
So I came in. I initially talked with Chuck Sullivan, your guy. That's who's how I met you.
Yeah.
To initially look for a place, maybe renting one of his little offices in the corner. And then Jason with Wink Inc. was like, "What do you got going on?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing production." Kind of fell into working with them. Next thing you know, they left to go do more real estate. I stayed with Mile High House. That's when I really started a lot more with the Public Works and with Battery. That was about 2013, 2014, where I was kind of in parallel universes with the Public Works. Public Works at that time was predominantly still photography and then the shop. A little bit of video. I was 100% video production. I had built in the edit server here. I helped build the studio that's on the other side here and was servicing a big wide suite of corporate clients, but with true video production infrastructure. So Public Works was leaning on me a little bit for editing support at the very beginning. Hey, can you help us edit this piece? Can you help us edit this piece? As things evolved, it looked like they needed a lot more support, and I needed a lot more support too, because it was really just me and my subcontracted teams. It was them and their kind of very small subcontracted teams as well. We pushed all that together in 2017, and I came up full on board with Public Works, really helping expand their video production capabilities and at the same time admin operations, a little bit more on the business side to look at what's our next stage. How can we service bigger client like Thor Industries that just kind of came into the loop? Just add more of what we could do as far as our output and capabilities. And like I said before, my main work was broadcast, so very traditional corporate. Public Works now is really focused on cinematic delivery of a lot of that content, more filmmaking. How do you do those type of things? And I'm learning along the way with a lot of our team is that shifts to a new direction of how we push our content out.
And you have like this whole, it looks to me like a big production studio back there.
Yes.
And it's all in-house.
Yep.
You do subcontract at all?
Yeah, we do. All of our crew is subcontractors. So in the new world of media production and film production, we found that as we've evolved, the agency of record model is kind of falling away. Where traditionally a brand would say, we're going to have one agency, they're going to do everything for us for all sorts, everything from media buying to taking pictures to all the things related to marketing and advertising a brand would go to one agency. Now, specifically looking at a company like Thor Industries, they have their web entity. They have two content production partners, ourselves and another group called Rock House in Kansas. They have their media buying company. They have different companies that kind of focus on their best practices so that not one entity is running all those things. So we service we're not the ones making your website, we're the ones that make your website look good. So with that, we have the full service, like you were saying, our production studio, which is all our edit infrastructure with a true editing server, ability for remote editing, all of those things, everything that's evolved with the new technology of production, post-production. We have everything that we need to do that to be a true post-production house. So when we say we sub it out, we may sub out the labor, but all the pieces and parts and tools to make those things happen are in here at Battery.
Sounds complicated.
It sounds a little bit complicated, and it is a little bit convoluted, but at the same time, it has been an evolution to get to this place where we can have everything we need in one place instead of subbing it out to a bunch of different people to make the same stuff happen.
And just out of my curiosity, who at the brands make sure that things are consistent if they're using several different agencies?
Yeah, so a lot of times what we will do with that is they'll have a director that's really in charge of that content, or they're the head of marketing for these brands, that then works with us to say, hey, here's things that we need to do according to our brand standards, or if it gets down to specific to something as a script, they're working with us to help them develop so that theme can be the same, or that project can stay the same, or that campaign can be the same as what they're looking for. But they'll lean in on us for a lot of that creative direction to get to that final output for what they want.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's your title?
Air traffic control.
Oh, I love that.
So,
Okay.
yeah, really just operations. But air traffic control sounded funnier, really trying to keep a sense of humor about it. But Mike and Frank never wanted to be the CEO of two people.
Yeah, you don't.
So Mike and Frank both decided very early on they would both be referred to as the co-pilots of Public Works. So when I came in the fold, like, what are you going to call yourself? I didn't want to be head of producing or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought of air traffic control.
I love that.
Yes. And I get a lot of
You're the glue.
I'm the glue. Yes, I really am. I like to think of Mike and Frank as kind of a yin and yang relationship, where I'm like that line in between the yin and the yang to kind of help things go, in addition to the rest of the crew too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a couple more questions about what you were talking about before. So you create video for brands.
Yes.
I know that's simplifying it, but like, are they commercials? Are they like snippets for social media? Do you ever do long form anything? Like, tell us about some of those projects.
It is a little bit of everything. So right now our longest pieces that we'll do are usually less than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Usually a sweet spot of like 6 to 8 minutes, specifically related to Thor Industries, which is probably our best case example for some of our higher end content, where we bring the most production resources and value to one thing. So the main objective will be a story that's, say, an 8-minute piece about something, life in RVing, culture, whatever. And then from those, we realize that most people aren't watching it on their projected screen. Some people might, and it's ready for that.
Yeah.
But usually people are watching on their phone or their iPad or even their laptop. So a lot of times we'll take that project that's the main thing, and then you're looking at what we call the cut downs. So I want a shorter version, I want a teaser version, and then I want something that's going to be almost like an ad for that piece. So that's kind of the format of what we'll push out. Really looking at social media platforms as the place to drive the traffic to the longer piece, maybe that lives on their site or on their own YouTube channel. But we do everything. We do broadcast TV spots for some local clients here. But most everything is anything that's related to, I'm going to get triggered on my social media feed, and then I'm going to watch it longer somewhere else. Some of the other things might be promoted through a bigger piece, or through a bigger output on the client side. But most of the things are in that traditional sense, where traditional advertising of let's put it on TV and hope they watch. Now it's a lot more trackable through online channels, YouTube specifically, Vimeo, things like that. So.
And do you film here in Colorado?
We're all over the place. Yeah, right now our crew's in Utah, doing a shoot with a site called The Dirt, DYRT, in Toyota. But we're very lucky that our clients want us to be the ones that do the production, so we get to travel a ton.
Cool.
I don't travel as much, thank goodness, but the team loves being on the road, all our young guns and our heads of production, so they're all over the world shooting things for our clients. Yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, cool. Well, how did you said you started out in broadcast.
Yes.
Like, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So I worked alongside my dad. I'm Tom Hoch Jr. My dad's Tom Hoch Sr. Senior and junior, as we got to be known as we worked together. But yeah, I started as a reluctant production assistant, like as my oldest of 3 kids. And my dad would make me go on shoots with him, boring corporate stuff, like running audio levels for some corporate job. And it was boring, but he would pay me,
Like, how old were you?
Like 14, 15, like just starting high school basically. But as we started doing it, he started getting cooler work. I mean, I'm a little bit older.
Tell me about your dad.
This is we're talking the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
So my dad decided to set up shop in the hotbed of media production, Aurora, Colorado in 1973.
Really?
Yes, which was, obviously not the case. But it evolved into be a good position for him because there wasn't a lot of people doing production in Colorado in that time frame, but he did. There was a post house that started here called Wicker Works. A lot of old guard will remember Wicker Works as it was between LA and New York, the true post-production resource for the region. Also, cable TV was invented in Colorado. Bill Daniels ran the first cable from Casper, Wyoming to Denver. When all those things were happening in the 70s, my dad was on the periphery of a lot of that stuff, doing predominantly corporate work. But as things started getting to be more broadcast through cable channels that were launching, he was a local resource that knew all the producers and film guys in Colorado. So he would get the call from back then, it'd be ESPN when they were first starting. Before they had the budgets to send everybody everywhere, they would hire local crews. So my dad was the guy that would call that would fill fill that void. So as stuff started picking up and more things were becoming show specific or TV shows, I started working on, broadcast TV content, usually as a camera guy or an audio guy, and then eventually on to producing a series of shows. As my dad's career evolved, I was alongside him as I was through college. I went to Metro State in the Tech Com program there, which was corporate video production, and did a lot of work at Metro State and University of Colorado back then. In the late 80s and early 90s. And at that same time, my dad was off to the races, literally with a show called This Week in NASCAR that was on Prime Sports. So he did that show for almost 10 years, and I worked along that after I graduated. My first job out of college was saltwater fishing shows, TV shows for Sports South, bass fishing and saltwater fishing tournaments.
Are you a saltwater fisher?
I became one after that. Yeah, I'd never been on the ocean before. I was
Uh-huh.
doing my very first shoot in 1992. In Charlotte, North Carolina, on the coast. But yeah, it ended up just being in production doing shows. This is pre-internet, so everything was on TV. Even if no one really was watching it, you might have a show on. So
yeah.
In the days of broadcast, was really working as a producer alongside our live production teams that were doing the actual shows. So This Week in NASCAR was a live call-in talk show about racing.
Cool.
That would be at the track or wherever nearby
Uh-huh.
with whoever won the race the week before. But it was really cool because that was the days of the perfect time of NASCAR where we're just starting to get a lot more popular. It was the beginning of Jeff Gordon and the downside of guys like, the legend of the sport like Cale Yarborough and Richard Petty and all those guys. So the show was a really cool slice of life that...
Was your dad a fan?
I mean, we all became it because we were working in it. And then once we were in it, we were kind of part of the big redneck circus, I like to call it, following the races around to wherever they were at. It was the same crew, the same thing, but at a different track. So we'd be one of the few video teams that were running around. So over the span of the years, we got to be known by a lot of the crews because of our show, and that's how we got the nickname Senior and Junior, because we had 5 Toms working on our crew. So I was junior, I was senior.
What were the other times?
They were like all by their last name. It was like Clip, Smith, and then senior and junior. So yeah. But yeah, all the different aspects of live television production that we were doing. We had a crew from Birmingham, Alabama, Cross Creek Productions that started doing high school sports out of a van, built a bigger production truck, all Betacam SP and 3/4 inch tape, and then evolved to become the first HD production trucks, and really scaled that into 4K and everything else, and doing things for the SEC network, all of the Southeast sporting events. Really started with a lot around the racing show, which is pretty cool.
And you were still based in Aurora,
We were based in Aurora, based in Denver, but we would travel and meet our crew wherever the show was at back then. Yeah. And then in the off season, we were doing a lot of skiing stuff. So the very first Extreme Skiing Championships, U.S. Extreme Skiing Championships, was 1987 in Crested Butte. That was my senior year in high school. And then it went to be the World Extreme Skiing Championships in Alaska. That's kind of how I got tied into Battery, was doing ski shows.
Okay.
Through their former partner, Jason, was doing ski shows back in the late 90s, so I was working on those. They ended up moving to Denver in 2010 to do Battery. But that's how I met them, was by doing the ski shows.
Oh, really?
Shooting skiing way before X Games was even a thing. Back when the word extreme was still a cool word to say.
Yeah.
And they changed it to free skiing. But so a little bit of everything in production back then. But when I said broadcast, it was all things that would eventually be aired on, a lot of it was on Prime Sports Network, a lot of that type of stuff. Early ESPN, a lot of news also, a lot of early CNN, Court TV, a lot of those older channels we would get calls to do just random stuff for cable networks. Yeah. So.
Now I want to interview your dad. But
yeah, you would love it.
I would love to. But what was he doing before he set up shop in Aurora, Colorado?
So before that, we have 30 seconds left. Do you want
let's take a break and we'll come back and talk more about your dad.
Yeah, we'll talk about Senior.
He
would love to be on. He's 80 and he will talk your ear off.
I would love to talk to Senior.
Love to have him on.
We were talking about Tom Hoch Sr. I just need a teaser.
We'll give a teaser to Senior. We'll call him Senior and have him come on. He has some great stories of things I won't even remember. But so my dad knew very early that he was going to get drafted and go to Vietnam. So he was at San Diego State University and he enlisted in the military. So he joined the Air Force so that he could go in as an officer. When his time was done, he ended up getting stationed out at Lowry Air Force Base and moved to Denver. When that ended, he got a job at KOA News, which was, now it's a radio station, but back then it was TV. So he was a film news guy, just shooting news, running around shooting whatever story and all that. And as a story as I remember it, they wanted them to spruce it all up because they were all a bunch of shaggy hippies back then in 71, 72. And they wanted the guys to wear ties and dress up. And he said, I'm not doing that, and he quit. So my mom was super psyched about that decision. And that's why I said he just started to go independent. So it was some lean years in the early 70s, as I remember. But he gutted it out. And like I said, a lot of things started in Colorado, the proximity for where it was for literally running cable. But yeah, he established everything in Aurora, and he worked out of the basement of his house his whole career. You know, got me on the path of entrepreneurship very early on. He was the one that was like, I don't need any employees. You need to have your own company. I'm not paying payroll tax on unemployment insurance on you. So set me up to be an entrepreneur as a sole proprietorship back in my early college days. Which was an awesome thing to kind of learn how you can be on your own and independent. Like I said before, with our crew of people that we work with here, it's tough to have full-time employees, especially in a gig economy where work is like this. You know, you'll get a call, you're so busy you can't even breathe, and all of a sudden it's November and you're like, oh, I guess we're not working until January. A lot of times things slow down at the end of the year. So we work with subcontracted teams that are really one or two people companies that may be, you know, experts in drones or experts in time lapses or experts in a certain type of photography. But we can be their best client because we'll give them enough work that can be the bulk of their business, but then encourage them to have other clients and do other things also to kind of fill out their roster of stuff that they can produce over the span of the year and control their own destiny with things they want to do with their time, which is everybody's most important resource in this business. So.
And how do you find these specialists?
We've been very lucky. A lot of them come to us. You know, our work has been able to speak for itself. Battery obviously has been a fun epicenter of things, and so we get a lot of interest from a lot of other producers and talent. But we also have a close connection with Metro State, like I mentioned, also University of Colorado Film School, the Art Institute Denver, and even high school. Like my son just started at North High School, so we're working with their video and graphic design team to bring younger people through to say, hey, this studio that you see here is available. If you want to use it, want to do something real, a lot of times you'll have a class project that's kind of hard to make something up. But if you have something real to do, like, hey, can you make a logo for this agency here or whatever it is, we try to find real opportunities for younger people to lean in and do it. I was super lucky. Like at first I didn't really like the job that I was kind of
what did you want to be?
Once I got into it, I wanted to do video, and I wanted to do photography, I wanted to do corporate video. I knew in high school I loved this job. I was already getting paid a little bit from my old man and from others doing freelance work. So I just wanted to learn more about the business of it. So I was really fortunate to be early on knowing that that's kind of where I would aim, and I'm still doing it. Which is crazy to think about, but I just kind of fell in. And you're still essentially
an entrepreneur. I mean,
we're still running the business together. We're partners and owners of all the things that are here, so it's still our thing, and you know, it's all on us to make it all fly. But being able to establish a good partnership with Mike and Frank and with Ian, who's our creative director, to be on the same path for what we're all trying to accomplish, we don't need to really micromanage each other on what our responsibilities are. You know, we've really been able to evolve over the past almost 10 years of working together to a place that we know what our position is, we know what we're doing, and we're always hustling to try to find the next fun, cool project to work on. You know, so. Yeah,
to talk about that, how do you find projects, or do they find you?
Yeah, they find us. We're very fortunate to have long-running clients, like I said, who we're kind of their video photo team. You know, we keep delivering the level that they want, and it makes it really good for us that we don't have to keep hustling and chasing our bigger clients down. But we do look for things that we like, up-and-coming brands that we're consumers of or users of, that we want to know more about, and find out how are they working on projects, how are they doing what they need, or if it's something new, how do we help them increase that look or feel or whatever it is of their product or products that they're trying to sell. And we just hit them up directly. Like the Airstream connection was, Mike, I want to work with this company. I need to know more about Airstream, and just constantly hammered their head of marketing, calling and emailing and sending examples of our work. And eventually they relented and said, okay, here we have this new product that'll be perfect for you guys. It's an outdoor trailer called the Base Camp. It's going to be coming out in 2013 or something like that. We want you guys to be the ones to tell a story about this cool new trailer. And that kicked off the relationship with them that led into Thor Industries, their parent company. And next thing you know, they're our biggest client. So being, I don't want to say aggressive, but it's kind of hard to say how I would explain Mike's approach. But the work really speaks for itself. Where you look to how can you provide value to something without coming in and breaking the bank or really focusing on the money. It's really focusing on the work and the authentic use of what these products are, which is what every brand, as we see it, really wants to put across. You can't force it. How do you really do it? Well, really use the product, really eat it, really taste it, really drink it.
Yeah, like authenticity is so important these days, especially because everyone can see through it.
Everyone can see through it. You can smell that bullshit a mile away. And, for us, it's like, how do you make it be authentic? Make it be authentic. And have brands and clients that want to see that and trust you to deliver it too. So we're really
I'm guessing you guys would turn down brands you don't believe in.
We don't really had anything happen that's come across where we're like, oh no, we don't believe in this. We do have a pretty solid set of core values, and we've been really lucky that most of the brands and companies that we work with are in the same line as that. We're very bad at saying no, and there really hasn't been anything that's come across like, oh, this is not. We don't believe in this. We would never do it. It just hasn't really crossed our plate to have to turn anything down.
Are you focused on the outdoors mainly?
It's kind of been where it feels like it when you look at our reel, you look at our things, a lot of it is very outdoor specific. Probably because that's where we spend most of our time.
In real life.
In real life, yeah. Active participants in everything that's outside. But it isn't just that. Like I was saying, the corporate side of things too will come into play. But yeah, fortunately, we get to do fun, cool stuff outside a lot. That's just kind of where it looks the best. So, yeah. And you mentioned longer format earlier. We've always had this want to do more longer format documentary, more film. It just we're so busy with the things that we're currently doing. How are we going to lean into something that would be specifically creative to a longer format movie or a film like that? It's kind of a different universe for the type of clients that we're serving, and what the film industry traditionally is, where I have this one project, we're going to work on this for a year or 2 years. That's all we're going to do, and then it's going to be shown. And we haven't really gotten into the cycle of how that works, although a lot of our crew will work as freelancers, as a grip or a gaffer or a AC or whatever on local film shoots here in Colorado. So,
what is the film industry like in Denver that you know of?
I know that it's been very difficult because of our tax incentives aren't as robust as places like New Mexico and other places, Canada specifically. So what I know about it is it's been a tough barrier of entry for people who want to do film here. I know there's a lot of underground independent stuff that's happening. There's another company here in our building called Truce Media. All they do is longer format, so they might be a good one. Julie and Brandon,
I think one of their shows, I interviewed some producers of one of the shows they're representing.
Yeah, so they do, they work with a really wide swath of filmmakers, and all of their stuff is longer format, documentary films. And Julie Jackson, who's the CEO of Truce, will be a great resource to talk a little bit more about that specifically to Colorado because they're based here. But for me, again, it's like nothing's really fallen in our lap to say, hey, you want to do a movie for us?
Maybe if the right thing comes along.
It would be someone coming to us say, would you help us do the production work? Because we're not coming up with, I guess we would say we would have ideas for movies, but usually people come to us saying, I have this idea, can you help us make it? And then we fulfill that. Vision, creative direction, whatever the thing is, whether it's a thing like this table or a picture of it. So. Okay, section 3, wrapping up, 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
We'll come back and talk about the future.
The future, yes. We promised to talk about the future. But real quick, I want to talk about the past, because I think you tried being on air instead of behind the scenes in the past.
One time.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I've done a lot of where I've done voiceover. One time, we were doing our NASCAR show, and one of our field reporters couldn't make it. So like, Junior, why don't you take your hand at it? You be the guy.
I thought you were good.
I knew enough of what I was supposed to do, but I didn't know enough about content.
Oh, okay.
And fortunately, our host Eli saved me in the thing. It's on my Instagram channel. You can see me on camera. But
what's your Instagram?
Tom Hoch, TOMHOCH at Tom Hoch.
Okay.
And I found out right after that live drop, I'm never doing that again.
I think you were great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I think of what if I would have stayed in, or what if I would have stuck?
Yeah.
Because some of my buddies are still doing racing coverage, like Steve Burns and Matt Yoakum, are guys that are working that you see on like Fox and all the big races are still doing it. So that's cool.
Well, yeah. I think you could have, but you're so good being air traffic controller behind the scenes, running the show.
Yeah, thanks.
And now you can tell us what the future holds.
Okay, the future. We're saying what's up with the future. Well, I was telling Castle here in the break that I've been fortunate to be in the industry from starting when it was in film.
Right.
Where you had to record on film and process that film, specifically photography also, and then it moving into tape. 3/4 inch tape, and then Betacam SP tape, and 1/2 inch VHS tape. It would be what you would deliver your projects on. It was on cassettes, remember? And then that evolved into digitizing that tape into a computer, and you can record that little segment and get a little bit of hard drive in there. You have this digital file that then you could edit non-linearly. Mm-hmm. And you look at just that transformation from tape to then digital cards, and then the cameras are DSLR cameras, from these old traditional blocky gigantic things to this little thing that's making a movie in true 4K or now even bigger. And then you look at how things are digitized in storage and hard drive space, and then that leads into the advent of AI, artificial intelligence in production and media specifically, where you see a tidal shift about to happen in how fast technology's gone from 30 years to now, or the last 5 years, and look at how AI is starting to be implemented more in production. And for us as creators and filmmakers and photographers, how do you stay on the top and ahead of that? How do you use these tools specifically as tools and not look at it as they're going to take over and ruin the industry?
Give up or get...
We should quit because AI is going to just be doing it all.
Right.
To some aspects, I think AI will be taking a lot of the tasks, but the creative piece, I think, is always going to lean on a director-producer. And you see what Hollywood has done by making sure that those things cannot be fully taken over by artificial intelligence that can learn and eventually take over those roles. But you look at what AI can do in the advent of creativity, the things were unable to really be produced without tons of time and processing power to make stuff happen. So you look at things like voiceover recording, animation, even script writing and script enhancement, how artificial intelligence is really going to be that next tool for us. We're trying to stay ahead of it and learn what it is and implement it the right way. And at the same time, hey, it's the cool new thing. How do we make it not take over? I mean, you can't really visualize a day where our client is going to say, you know what, I don't need the public works anymore because I can just type in text to see my last campaign that we did, do that again, but we don't want to hire these guys to make it. I can't say for sure, but probably pretty good case that you're still going to need a person to help drive that thing. You know, so looking at what that next piece is of really saving time, which passes down the line to client. Can you get more things done? Can you get more work produced? Will yet to be seen, but the advent of the creativity portion of what the tools can do, fixing audio, up-resing older tape, up-resing older files, cleaning
AI does that?
AI can do that. Fixing bad audio that may be recorded in the field. So many things. Translations, transcription, which before would be a person typing that out, now is immediately spit out from the software to give you a transcript. Oh, I want it in 7 languages. There you go. There it is in 7 languages. Those type of things are pretty exciting to see how it goes. And working with clients that want to have the next coolest, best thing, how do you use that tool in addition to the latest, greatest camera package technology that's coming out? So,
what advice do you have for the youth, for the current filmmakers or broadcasters or
I mean, the main advice I
there?
have is create, make something happen, do something creative every day, whether it's a drawing or a sketch or a writer. What do I want to do? How do I know what my role is? What do I want to be in production? Finding ways to get on set, finding ways to be on projects with people, finding ways to shadow or intern or be around other people that are doing the things you want to do. I found a lot of success just referring people who have the, kind of the wherewithal to want to learn and do something and get a chance to be on set to see how someone else may be doing a project. But get involved and make things happen. And now, obviously, with the advent of social media and how many kids are doing things already, is building that brand of your capabilities of what you want to be, whether it be a shooter, a director, a writer, whatever. But I found for myself trying a little bit of everything on, from literally learning how to run the satellite truck to make sure the signal's hitting so that it could be broadcast live, to the technical director who's switching between the cameras, to the person behind the camera, a little bit of everything in the roles, and then finding a kind of a better position in evolving into operations, knowing that I don't know everything, and knowing that some younger people will have a better eye than I will to go get the shot that I may not be able to get. Because I'm not.
But you know enough about all the things.
I know enough about all the things, but I'm not really a filmmaker. Like I said, I'm the broadcast guy, so I'm not really going to be lighting things in a cinematic way. But I'll learn for the next shoots where I might need to go, hey, will you go pick up this shot? And now I know how to light with all these new LED lighting tools that we've acquired over the past couple of years. So, yeah.
So lighting's changed over the last few
years.
Just
the lighting fixtures themselves, yes. Battery power, storage space, and LEDs are probably the three biggest advents in technology in the last couple of years that have the capability, the size go big, and the price goes down. That is pretty awesome. Specifically with lighting, taking an LED bulb that can be as bright as a 4K light that's LED with very little temperature on the front, where before you'd have this 4K ballast that you could hear the electricity flowing through that thing, and if you got within a foot of it, you'd burn your hand. So seeing the advent of that technology has been pretty incredible.
I don't know what a 4K ballast is.
Well, it's just a gigantic
I'm assuming
light.
Our listeners know.
Hopefully our film guys will know.
Yeah.
When someone says pull the 4K out, they know what you're talking about.
Our listeners in New Mexico, they know.
I need to bring the sun in, and it's dark. Bring that light in.
So
it's a gigantic light.
Yeah. So. Well, I've noticed some common themes between you and Frank and Mike. Like, you kind of, you chose Battery 621 and Public Works. Like, you wanted to be a part of this and came here. Yeah. And then things happened.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have Airstream as a client. So, they made it happen. But you have to have the skills, too.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I want to be there and work there and not have the skills. It's when it all lines up.
It all lines up. Persistence, taking time.
Yeah.
Knowing that every connection could be that bigger connection down the line. Don't burn any bridges. Be professional. Even in the face of adversity and stress with a client. That's the toughest part of this business.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And also being a good person across the board and knowing that, hey, I may not know everything. Someone may know something different than me. There's a thousand ways to make this kind of media production happen. And looking at the best practices of everybody just to be around cool, creative
I like
stuff.
to find people better than me. It's like, if there's no one better than me to do it, I'll do it. But if I can find someone better to do it, then...
Yeah, fortunately, I'm very lucky to find a lot of people better than me.
Yeah, there's a lot of talented people in this building.
Yes. So come down to Battery 621 if you're in Denver. Come on, check it out.
We have a lot of events that are open to the public, and rooftop parties and Waffle
Wednesday breakfast for networking and hanging out. And follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on all the social channels. Battery 621 and the Public Works. Yeah. Publicworks.biz is the website, which is our choose your own adventure for all the stuff that we got going on here and all over the place.
Cool.
So,
All right, we've been here with Tom Hoch Jr. We're going to track down Senior in the near future.
Yeah.
This is your guest host, Castle Searcy, with Santa Fe International Film Festival. And I just want to say that you're like the ultimate, how they say there's that window of Gen X, or are you Gen X?
I don't know.
I don't know either, but that window
I think so.
where you knew analog and now you know digital.
Yeah.
You're like even more so because your dad got you on the job at 14, you know? So you know about this huge range.
I processed film.
Yes.
When I was in high school, so I've been around for the whole gamut of it, which is sweet.
So I feel like people could reach out to you if they
reach out to me if you want to talk about digitizing tape and the old days.
Yeah, the old days.
And we still can. If you have an old VHS, yes, I can convert it for you.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Castle.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.